Please don't hurt me, Joe Rogan. But dude, can I call you dude? Dude, you just got kicked off the top of the podcast ratings heap by, get ready for this, a Catholic priest who loves Mary and loves praying the Rosary. Father Mark-Mary Ames hosts the Rosary in a Year podcast, and it is another reminder of the elevation of Mary in the Roman Catholic system. This is what the Franciscan friar said, quote, "There's something particular that God wants to do through Mary that also continues now. So it's interesting that even Mary's the one who continues to come." The response to that statement is simple, and it really reveals the divide between Protestantism and Catholicism. Here's the response. What Bible verse says that? Quick, name the verse that indicates God is doing something particular, whatever that is, with Mary. Name the verse that says Mary continues to help us. You can't. Any support for Catholic Mariology, it must be found outside of the Bible. And that's why this friar's language is filled with vagaries. Listen for them. Quote, "I think," that's not definitive, "I think the number one thing is that there seems to be some sort of special grace given by God to the Rosary where he wants to do some special work. And the Rosary is the thing that unlocks it. It opens the door to grace." That's funny. I thought Jesus opened the door to grace. So ask yourself the question again, what Bible verse supports that statement? The only actual Bible verse cited by Catholics for Mary's intercessory work, believe it or not, is John chapter 2. What's in John chapter 2? The wedding at Cana. She interceded to ask Jesus, what's the deal with the wine drought? So we take that historical narrative and we impose our Mariology to say that's an example of her interceding for us in heaven with her son. That's just eisegesis. That's reading into the text. It's not reading out of the text. So here's how Mariology developed in the Catholic Church. Started in 431. There was a controversy about the deity of Jesus Christ, fully God, fully man. It was the Nestorian heresy. And the good guys were saying, no, fully God, fully man. Jesus was not just a man that Mary gave birth to. He was God and man. So they called Mary, in order to demonstrate that the baby was God, they called her Theotokos, the mother of God. It wasn't to elevate Mary. It was to make sure we were protecting the divinity of Jesus. 649, perpetual virginity was introduced, declaring her a virgin before, during, and after Jesus' birth. The Immaculate Conception, 1854, declaring Mary was conceived without original sin. 1,800 years to sort that. 1950, the Assumption, that says that Mary was assumed body and soul into heaven. What Bible verse is that? 1954, it was an encyclical, Ad Caeli Reginam, to the Queen of Heaven, establishing a feast for Queen Mary, May 31st, every year. In other words, it took centuries to discover and codify Mariology and to create those dogmas, because there is absolutely no biblical support. Mariology, it's a complete work of fiction developed by the Catholic magisterium over almost 2,000 years. Fishy? Yeah. Let's get back to the friar. Quote, "It took hundreds of years to be developed," he's talking about the Rosary, "to get what it is, as a perfect prayer that has our way of receiving and coming to God." Kooky. I thought Jesus was the way of coming to God. Nobody comes to the Father but through the Rosary? No, but through Jesus. But it's odd that a perfect prayer, that he claims it is, the means of receiving and coming to God, took centuries to develop. What were folks doing until the Rosary was developed? Could they not come to God? Here's the history. 9th through 12th centuries, it's vague. But that's when the prayer started to be used, really by friars who were reciting the Psalms. And in order to keep track of what psalm they were on, they would use beads. Somehow Mary, we just don't know, Mary got brought into that. And then by the 13th century, Dominic and the Dominican order popularized the Rosary. Specifically, they thought it was a tool against heresy. 16th century, formalization of the Rosary. And the Catholic devotion to Mary was just getting amped up in the 15th century. That's Reformation time. 1850s through the 1900s, the Rosary was being promoted a lot. Mary was making appearances and Mary was being promoted. The Rosary was being touted. Vatican II, 1962 to 1965, Second Vatican Council emphasized a renewed focus on prayer and devotion to Mary. That hurts. So while it reaffirmed the significance of Marian devotion, the council also clarified, and this is what a Roman Catholic will say to you, no. We venerate Mary. We don't worship her. And our veneration should always point back to Christ so that we're not being idolaters. But here's the problem. That can't be avoided. When you're venerating her and praying to her and trusting her and petitioning her. So think of it like this. This is going to be a stretch, but just hang in there. Let's just say I claim to be an Elvisite. I love the king of rock and roll. And you discovered that I was actually focusing a lot on Gladys, his mother, heralding her, amazing woman. She did such amazing things. And she has power and she's so terrific. You'd say, wait a second, dude, you're focusing on the wrong object. If you're an Elvisite, you should be focusing on Elvis. And I would respond and say, well, I'm just talking about Gladys to point back to Elvis. You'd rightly say, why don't you just talk about Elvis? Bingo. All that to say, the number one podcast, it's standard Roman Catholic fare, filled with dogmas. They're anything but biblical. But here's the good news, really. There is a silver lining in this. This is another sign people are hungering for something transcendent. They're groping, they're looking. If nothing else, it should embolden all of us to be more courageous about sharing biblical truth about Jesus, the only mediator between God and man, not Mary. Discuss. If you are looking for the university experience without the university experience, if you know what I mean, please visit masters.edu/wretched. Not only are they ranked in career preparation, a breadth of fields of study, athletics, drama, the university experience without the university experience. Masters.edu/wretched.